The plot unfolds, the story advances. Those are the very foundations of storytelling, just like time marches on. But modernism challenged and subverted this belief, and exposing life itself as an escape in vain. We are all figuratively paralyzed. Being the quintessential figure of modernism, James Joyce is inextricably linked to Irish nationality. However, the celebrated Irish author was somehow distant from it, despising it even to a certain degree. When Joyce composed the first story in the collection, it was during his exile among various European cities, the objective of which was to escape the suffocating Catholic grip and the awakening of the Irish nationalism. Joyce's self-imposing exile could be seen as his pursuit of freedom. The word paralysis is the key, and it lurks within every story in Dubliners. Dublin, a second city of the British Empire, had been resisting British colonialism by forming their own identity, an Irish one rather than a British one. Yet, in essence, this evolution may be interpreted as jumping from one nationalism to another, both exclusive and insular in their own way. Thus, no matter what, true liberation will never arrive. The situation won't progress in any meaningful way, as if the march of time is halted. This is the incapacity thing of Dubliners, the futile struggle, and the paralysis.
Every night, as I gazed up at the window, I said softly to myself the word paralysis.
Dérobe illustrates a boy's desire to buy a gift in the Arabic market for his crush. Despite not being the first story, I believe this story encapsulates the overall theme of Dubliners splendidly. Dérobe tells a story about a boy's attempt to explore an Arabic bazaar in order to buy a gift for his crush, Megan's sister. But the simple hope is thwarted by the waiting for his uncle so the boy could ask for pennies, only to have him arrive late and drunk. When he finally reaches the bazaar, most of it is closed. The only stall is a commercialized stall with nothing enchanting. The silent and blind setting, North Richmond Street, with houses gazed at one another, with brown, imperturbable faces, could represent the bleakness of Dublin. To escape the dualness, the destination for the boy, namely buying a gift to Megan's sister, is full of unrealistic imagination, ennobled by the Catholic elements like his shallow safely through a throng of foes. The fantasy is obliterated by the deserted bazaar, discovering the horrible and bleak reality of the futility of the pilgrim. Megan's sister is worth noting as her name remains unknown for the entire plot. The epiphany of Dérobe is painful. The boy realizes his dream of love and holiness are inconsistent with the actual world, and that his romantic and spiritual pursuits were merely mirages of idealized fantasies. The struggle is in vain, as if the time is a paralysis. "19-year-old Evelyn Hill finds herself in a dejecting home owing to her death of her mother. Reflecting on her life drifting away, she is terrified by the possible violence from her father based on how he abused her brother. Her hope came as a kind soldier, Frank, who Evelyn falls in love with, asks her to move to Buenos Aires together. This is a hope to prevent her ending up like her mother in her despondent final days as commonplace sacrifices closing in final craziness. However, when the day finally came, the sound of the street organ reminding her of the past and her promise to her mother to keep the home together as long as possible. As this crescendo, Evelyn's monologue unfolds.
Escape! She must escape! Frank would save her. He would give her life, perhaps love, too. But she wanted to live. Why should she be unhappy? She had a right to happiness.
But she was petrified, pale and helpless, like an animal. At last, she cannot bring herself to leave. This explains the mass migration of Irish to the New World owing to the Great Famine. Millions died, millions left. The island was ravaged. But apart from those who left, those who remained had to face the bleak future. Evelyn's abusive father acted like the British government, and no matter how abusive the home is, she, the Irish, is immobile, trapped by the past and the feeling of home. A better future is dashed and eventually pointless. Notwithstanding being the final story, The Dead is the first story Joyce completed in his collection. A nervous and sensitive man, Gabriel, considers himself culturally superior to others at the Christmas party, as he is a performative man, carefully planning his movements and speech. His adaptation of British culture is the core behind his superiority, and he holds dissent over Irish heritage. This clashed with Miss Evers, an Irish nationalist, calling him West Breton for writing for a pro-English newspaper. Consequently, Gabriel grows defensive and declares he is sick of his own country. To secure his ego, he appears to be emotionally detached from the others and from his homeland. Just like the Irish adopted the British manner, they stuck in a weird gap. Not fully British, yet disconnected from Ireland. Figuratively, they are trapped in these circumstances. Performatively, they are forced to displace their cultured and refined aspects to construct their fragile superiority. As the music plays at the party, Greta, Gabriel's wife, recalls her memories of a boy who she used to love, but died young. When the tears run down from Greta's cheeks, Gabriel decides to ask Greta, in an indifferent irony, leading to the confession of Greta's love that Gabriel had never known. The alienated boy visited Greta in pouring rain before his death. Genuine and passion heavily contrast with the apathetic facade of Gabriel. The former is dead yet spiritually alive, while the latter is alive but spiritually dead. After confessing, Greta is fast asleep, leaving Gabriel by himself, contemplating on identity, morality, and love. The snow falls outside of the climax. Gabriel thinks to himself that the snow falls upon all the living and the dead. The coldness of the snow represents Gabriel's demeanor, but now becomes the universal bond that reconnects Gabriel from the joy and the sadness of life. The generous compassion for Greta and the dead boy she loved give way to empathy and the realization that he is not a superior, unique individual, but a small part of the vast, interconnected universe of souls. The scene broke Gabriel's character. This is not a progress of his character, but a painful realization he has no choice but to face the failure his behavior has brought him. He realizes that his inadequacy in the face of genuine passion, leading to him to resign but ultimately more compassionate understanding of his place in the world. In reality, there is nothing he could do but to accept life as it is. The snow, a symbol of the self-contradicting paralysis and connection, just like humanity itself is both life and death. In the end, Joyce seems to imply to us the hint of hope, passion, and love, even among our futile beings.
His soul swooned slowly as he heard the snow falling faintly through the universe and faintly falling, like the descent of their last end upon all the living and the dead.